Welcome back guys, and today in this video I'm going to quickly walk you through some of the changes that I have done so that the app looks a little more presentable from the previous avatar that we had. So I have installed Tailwind and I have also installed the UI library called Daisy UI. With that, I had access to certain components which I have installed on my project, and that's how this thing now looks something like this with some basic drop downs and stuff like that. And now my form looks much more presentable, to be honest. So let's quickly understand what are the changes that I have done. Now the first thing obviously is installing Tailwind. So what I have done is, if you look at my package.json, I have not this one. We need to go into the package.json of our create react app. I have installed Tailwind and I've also installed Daisy UI, which for some reason I'm not able to find out. Yeah, here it is. Okay, these two packages I have installed through npm. Then there is this Tailwind config.js which I have created based on the documentation, and I have added this plugin which is the Daisy UI plugin. With this done, we will get access to the components from Daisy UI, along with one more small change, which is inside your index.css you add these things, because this is how Tailwind will be able to understand the different CSS classes that have been added and create the CSS. Okay, now with these things done, one more change that I have done is inside my index.html, which is inside the public folder. I've added this data theme winter. This is the theme which I will be using with Daisy UI. So how do I know all these things? Let's quickly look at that. So obviously the first thing is, if you go to Tailwind, the documentation of installing Tailwind CSS with Create React app is very straightforward. You just follow these things and you are pretty much done. Now when it comes to Tailwind's UI library, Daisy UI components, you can go to how to use. Now these are some of the themes which I was talking about. Right now I'm using one called winter. Okay, so you install Daisy UI, put the plugin, and then I have access to all these components. Okay, so then with these understanding, let's now look at what I have done to get this basic layout. So as you can see, one thing which I have implemented is the navigation. Daisy UI gives you quite a few options in terms of the nav bar, which you can at any point use. So what I have done is I have used a mix of this along with a drop down. So this one, right? So what happened is I got finally something like this, where the work is only one button, parent is a drop down or a menu, and this is actually a drop down. This one happens to be which opens on click, whereas this is on menu hover. Okay, so how do we get that? Well, that's pretty straightforward. Let me open up my layout.tsx. This has been simplified a lot. This is my basic layouting thing, how wide the application will be, and then I have a nav bar. Now this is pretty much copy paste of the Daisy UI thing with a few small changes, like I have changed the a-links to take the user to the appropriate pages. You need to ensure that that is done properly, because unlike a browser, the user will not be able to go back and forth with the browser history. So we need to ensure that the overall navigation of the application is in a way that they are able to work around what they want to do. Okay, so this navigation becomes quite important. Okay, so with this again out of picture, we have the outlet that I haven't changed with some basic layouting and padding stuff. Now let's go back to work page. What have we done over here? The work page now shows the to-do form, and the to-do form has some basic changes. Well, The first thing is obviously, those rounded borders and shadows, which gives me this, thing. Then what I had changed was, we had a field component, and the field component initially was unstyled. Now I can add the classes to this field component, but then it would mean I'll have to carry forward all those classes to every field component that I use in my application. But Formic, what it allows you to do is use something called as a component attribute inside the field and define which component you want to use. So what I did was I removed those classes from there and rather created this component inside my commons folder called text field. I have this type and the classes over here. Any argument which I can pass will come over here. Okay. And what I have done is name ID is being controlled over here. The autofocus is here. And these two things goes into the text field as additional arguments. So I have control over the name description being inside the form where the Formic is, but I control the UI by reusing this component that I have created. This is why I like Formic a lot, because it has thought through so many use cases. It's so easy to work with. Now, for the error message, again, we say that the component that it should use is a span tag, name is description, which was already there, and some styling information so that we get this behavior. All right. So with that done, then I have one more common component, which is my button component. It takes the string right now because it's a normal submit button. I don't need to pass any function which will come as a prop for the behavior. It just does a form submit, and the styling is being controlled over here. So what gives me as an advantage is that the styling is in one component, and even if I want to change it in one place, I have the ability, or rather I have the flexibility to do that, because all the text fields will be using this same text field component. So yes, with these basic changes now, definitely I feel that the UI looks a little more interesting to work with. And yeah, obviously you need to understand how the layouting works with a proper CSS framework so that we can create the UI as per our requirement. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. If you like this, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.